The Golden State Warriors have serious problems. So Jonathan Kuminga wants to leave the Warriors this summer and follow his dream of being an all-star player. So let's just talk about this. So there's been a huge rift between the Warriors and Jonathan Kuminga, and Steve Kerr is not helping this situation because there have been numerous reports throughout the season that there's been a rift between these two, Jonathan Kuminga and Coach Steve Kerr, because of the playing time and being given, an ability to be able to play in the offense. And also, Jonathan Kuminga's progression has been hampered with a lot of things that happen within the roster. So the timeline for the Warriors and the timeline for Jonathan Kuminga, they're not going in hand together. So the Golden State Warriors were knocked out in the second round by the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Stephen Curry was injured, so the Warriors didn't have a chance. And this summer, the Dubs will respond with several roster moves, and Jonathan Kuminga is at the top of the list. So according to latest intel, Jonathan Kuminga is eager to branch out of the Golden State Warriors and prove himself as a leading star in another organization. So the Athletics, Anthony Slater, he came out and said this in an article. So Kuminga, league sources said he still has visions of becoming an all-star, not fitting into an ever moving mid-tier rotation role. So he's tired of being, a second string player, at some point third string. So he doesn't want that. So the article continues. He wants to be a featured player in an NBA offense and chase the 20 points and beyond dreams he spent his life chasing. And the last week of his fourth season tasting. So there is an irreconcilable player and coach or player and organization personality clash, league sources said. This is all about finding the contract and opportunity Kuminga craves. So Kuminga is 22. He was drafted 7th overall by the Warriors in 2021. After a promising rookie campaign, Kuminga earned a larger role after helping the Warriors win the title. Slowly but surely, he's been moving up the Warriors hierarchy and taking on increasingly large roles. So in the 2024-25 campaign, however, Kuminga's place on the team became unclear as Steve Kerr began to cut back his minutes and opportunities down to an average of 24.3 minutes per game. Kerr lost faith in Jonathan, especially down the stretch when he received several DNPs in the playoffs. Now his future is in doubt with his contract set to expire at the end of this season. So later he continued the article, said, the Warriors front office, Kuminga's representatives, and the league are expected to explore all options this July, but the team sources have been hinting that because these markets and financial restrictions, there's a likely world where the most obvious and prudent path is for them to bring Kuminga back and figure the rest out later. So on paper, Kuminga is putting up decent numbers and he's looking very promising. This past season, he averaged 15.3 points, 5 rebounds, and 2.2 assists on 45% shooting at 6'8" and 210 pounds. He's an ideal for the forward positions, but if his frequent lapses in judgment, especially down the stretch for games, has hindered his growth in the Warriors, especially with the Warriors, the way they play. Somewhat his style of play and the way he plays is not meshing well with what Steve Kerr wants. So now after losing the semis, Kuminga has a chance to decide his own NBA future, but it's impossible to say whether where he'll be when he's all said and done, because there's a high likelihood that he might leave the team, or he might uh, convince the Warriors, or maybe he can be able to bring him back. But hey, I mean, there's been a very strenuous relationship there. So with his skills, Jonathan Kuminga could be a great addition as a young developing team like the Spurs, Pistons, and the Orlando Magic. But hey, I mean, all in all, the best move and course of action is him who knows. And if the Warriors can be able to change up a few things in principle so that they can accommodate Kuminga, maybe he can stay. But because of the irreconcilable, relationship between the coaching staff and office, the way they have been treating him in the postseason, I mean, there's a high likelihood he's just gonna leave. So depending on what he asks for his next contract, he might also be chased by some title contenders looking for that one final piece. So teams like the Nuggets, Timberwolves, and Rockets, uh, they might be in the running to sign a Jonathan Kuminga because of his experience. So yeah, despite his current wishes, it's also possible that Kuminga will end up back in the Golden State Warriors. With the rise of Jimmy Butler, his services aren't needed nearly as much, but the Warriors may decide to take another chance on him as a key piece in the future. So, with so much potential and impressive work ethic, Jonathan Kuminga, he's ready for a bigger role, and he might be willing to leave the Warriors behind to be able to pursue it. So, I mean, there's been a huge rift, especially when it comes to Steve Kerr and the way he wants to play, and Jonathan Kuminga. And there are a few title contenders that can benefit from Jonathan Kuminga. This guy in his rookie year, he won the NBA championship. He helped the Golden State Warriors win the NBA title, and he's had like a lot of experience in a first class organization like the Golden State Warriors. So any title contender will be lucky to have this guy. And even if he asks for 12 to 15 million a year, that is something that can be provided for by a mid-tier team. But for the contenders, depending on the salary cap, the way it is, maybe he can be able to get at the 12 to 13 million dollar range, or even 10 million a year if he wants to take a pay cut. And I don't think he should take less than 10 million a year because of his status and what he has done. I know the recent year has not been the greatest for Kuminga, and with the acquisition of Jimmy Butler in the NBA trade deadline, the role for Jonathan Kuminga has severely diminished because Jimmy Butler is much more reliable and much more proven, even despite the fact that Jimmy Butler has never won a championship. But his runs for the NBA Finals and the way he carried the Miami Heat is the reason as to why he's being prioritized more. And the front office likes to prioritize the new acquisitions first. And Jonathan Kuminga, if he can't be able to adjust his game to a Jimmy Butler, somebody who joined the team just recently, is going to be very difficult. And I don't see any upside in Jonathan Kuminga staying with the Warriors, because if you're going to stay with the Warriors, he's going to face the same problems, same issues. So my best bet is for him to look for another team. And luckily enough, there are other teams that might be available for him, because we have the Suns, not the Suns, I don't know why I mentioned the Suns. We have the Spurs, Pistons, and the Orlando Magic. And for a title contender, the Nuggets, Timberwolves, and Rockets might need his services. So the Timberwolves and Rockets look like a very good bet, especially the Rockets, because they finished as a second seed. You know, they know how to utilize young quality star players, and might be that destination where it can be life and career changing. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So do drop me a comments down in the comment section down below. I know for a fact that the the Warriors will be looking towards going in a different direction. It's abundantly clear when they traded away Jordan Poole, and you know they're getting rid of like their young players, and they're trying to focus on experience and try to max whatever chance they have with Stephen Curry being on the roster. The man is 36 heading on to 37, and they don't have time to be meticulous and going all in for a rebuild. So whatever chance they have, even if it comes at the great cost of a guy like Jonathan Kuminga, the Warriors are willing to take it. They're trying to maximize Stephen Curry's last days in the league, and they don't care about Jonathan Kuminga, his minutes like that. That's the reason as to why they even rather give Stephen Curry more minutes and Jimmy Butler more playing time in the court as opposed to Jonathan Kuminga being there. So it's dirty business. I've seen this happen, especially in rosters, and it's something that the front offices, the coaching staff, they are aware of, and sometimes they can use it as a way to frustrate the athlete so that they can just opt out, so that they make the decision on their own, and they are willing to let this guy walk in free agency as opposed to trading him away, because they don't even have any draft capital to trade him away, because to trade him for something. So I mean, it's a very tough situation. I know it's going to be a big L for the Golden State Warriors when he leaves, because they have to find another person who can be able to take that productivity on. But hey, I mean, the NBA is dirty business, and Kuminga's days with the Golden State Warriors were numbered the moment he won the title. I know he has been averaging good minutes, but Steve Kerr just did not like this guy, and he didn't want to, put this guy in the game, because he had lost faith in him, especially down the stretch in games. Some of the decisions that Jonathan Kuminga was making were now that not the greatest, and the Warriors, the way they are set right now, they are not a team that they're not a team that is prioritizing growth and development of athletes or players like that. They're just looking towards, can we be able to win a championship? Can we put you, and can you help us win the title? If you can't help us win the title, we'll move with people who can help us, because their window is closing in very fast and there's no time for them. So it is what it is. So like, share, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, get notified, because I'm going to be releasing more content of this nature. And I'm out. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace out.